buying a house versus renting a house, especially right now with extremely high interest rates. You are much better off renting and buying Bitcoin with the excess cash flow that you have every month, because your savings will grow faster in Bitcoin than in equity in a house, right? So there's the other alternative where people will buy a house and then have a $2,000 to $3,000 mortgage payment. Um, and then maybe they decide to buy Bitcoin with it, or they try to pay down their house a bit quicker. The reality is that the house will not appreciate as quickly as Bitcoin. Even in Canada, I would rent for now, and put your excess over and above your rental expenses into Bitcoin. It's just Bitcoin's going to outpace a house and what it's worth, much, much quicker. Real estate was increasing at 3, 5, maybe 6, 7% a year. So real estate hasn't grown that quickly, right? Only after 2020, because the government printed so much money, that this money that was essentially free during 2020 to borrow had to find a way in the market. It all flowed, or a lot of it flowed, to real estate. So we are seeing kind of a phenomenon that we haven't seen in the past, not since 2008, where people are putting so much money and they're bidding up these housing prices. And we're also seeing that supply isn't catching up to the demand. So we're going to see this phenomenon happen and continue over the next, I would say, 5, 10 years. But even if you take all of that into account, the maybe 10% that we get out of real estate every year, it doesn't account for the interest payments that you make. So if someone buys a house today, sure, the house price might go up 10% a year, but you're paying 6, 7, 8% in interest every single year, right? That's another expense. You're also on the hook for any, you know, housing expenses that might come around, like a furnace blowing out, leaks, you expenses that come up in a house, right? Um, but aside from that, Bitcoin at 50% a year is a lot more attractive to me. Plus, although it is not a physical asset, the freedom that I have with Bitcoin and the ultimate liquid market that Bitcoin has makes me a lot more comfortable than the real estate market. So if I was a condo owner and I wanted to leave Canada today, I can't get my cash, or I can't leave because my assets, my money is tied up into this physical thing, right? So physical has some advantages, but it also has major disadvantages, right? You have to upkeep that physical house for however long you're going to live in it, which comes along with expenses, but you're also tied down to that jurisdiction. And, the world is moving in mysterious ways, and, you know, things are getting tumultuous, and people want to move a lot more than they used to. And I want to be able to move whenever I want. So the best play right now for anyone that has a house is actually the double the double maxi strategy here that Michael Saylor has. Take out your equity as debt and invest it in the best performing asset in the past 15 years, which is Bitcoin, right? Why sell the asset that you have paid off over the past years? Why not keep holding the asset? It still goes up in price, it still goes up in value, but you extract the money again, the equity, and you invest it in this other asset, which is Bitcoin, which is going to outpace everything else in the next 10, 20 years. $100 trillion of accessible capital in the world. And Bitcoin represents less than 1% of that. Bitcoin, as it continues to be legitimized in the traditional world, money is going to flow in. So the question really becomes, it's not a question of if we will reach price stability or not. I think the
Mm,
volatility will decrease at some point. The question is, at what price are we going to get price stability, right? It could be $5 million a coin, right? And when we look at, Bitcoin today is at 63,000 US dollars. To go from 63 to 5 million US dollars, that's a pretty big increase, right? So I don't think we're slowing down from here to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 million. But I think that once we get to a certain point, maybe $6 or $7 million a coin, we will reach a price stability because people just won't buy and sell as aggressively as they do normally.
okay.
If I had any more money, I would convert it into Bitcoin 100%.
Okay.
Fiat assets to Bitcoin. This is the chart that I'll normally bring up to people, right? So,
Mm,
how durable is that asset compared to Bitcoin? How divisible is it? And again, we talk about real estate, and it's just not that divisible. You can either have a full house or you can sell a full house. You can't sell a fraction of it. How fungible is a house, right? Two houses are not going to be the exact same cost because it depends on the neighborhood, how clean the lawn is, does it have a pool in the back, blah, 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 all of this stuff. How portable is your asset, right? A house is not portable at all. You have to sell it in order to get the value for that house and then move your value somewhere else. You can't move a house unless it's a trailer or something. Um, Verifiable. A house is pretty verifiable. How scarce is it? Depending on market demands, a house is pretty scarce, but if we have more supply, then it becomes less scarce. Real estate has been around for forever, so this is why people feel so confident in the real estate market and they don't feel as confident in the Bitcoin market because Bitcoin is a 15-year-old asset where in comparison, we've been living in houses since we came on Earth, right? Like we've been needing a place to live forever. So it makes sense to me. The psychological mindset of I need a house and that's what I'm saving for and that's my goal. It makes sense to me. But to me, it's just more important to have freedom and autonomy with the time and energy that I have provided to society. And the only way that I can see myself securing that freedom and autonomy is through Bitcoin. There's nothing else. Would it be cool to get a house? Maybe someday, right? But I'm not going to rush to get one, and I'm not ever going to be stressed out about it because I can always rent somewhere. I will always have a place to live. So, conversation is important to to understand what our next steps should be to live the most prosperous life that we can.